Terve kaikille. Tässä kohta tulee Freeman paikalla ja aloitetaan tämän viikon ensimmäinen tietoisuusviikon ensimmäinen Q&A, ja itse asiassa on tehnyt tässä jo listan vähän Markille, että mistä puhutaan, ja mä yritän tähän alkuun tehdä niin, että vaikka puhutaan englantia, pyydän anteeksi, tällä piti ottaa lamppu pois, se näyttää nyt vähän köyhältä tuolla katossa, mutta otin sen tuosta pois, ja Mark tulee siis tähän mukaan ihan kohta puoliin, ja me tehdään niin, että mä yritän pysytellä, koska mulla on välillä hankalaa, kun mä käännän suoraan englannista suomeen, että teen sen tarpeeksi useasti, joten yritän aina aloittaa sillä, että mä aloitan sanomalla kysymyksen suomeksi, ja sitten mä kysyn sen Markilta, ja sitten mä annan Markin höpistä rauhassa, ja itse kirjoittelen vähän ylös, ja sitten mä käännän teille, että sais ainakin sen ydinpätkän mitä hän kertoo, niin sillä, että se olisi kaikille myös suomeksi ymmärrettävissä. Katsotaan, mä laitan nyt hänet tuohon mukaan. Ja toki nyt tässä on muutamia kysymyksiä tullutkin, mutta saa laittaa ihan vapaasti liven aikana myös kysymyksiä hänelle, ja miksei myös mulle, tai yhteiskysymyksiä. Oikeastaan ihan mitä tahansa liittyen mielenterveyteen, ja toki OCD siinä vähän niin kuin ytimessä, mutta mä tiedän, että Mark tykkää mielellään puhuu myös ihan ylipäätänsä omasta mielenterveydestä ja mielen hyvinvoinnista ja näin, niin saa ihan laittaa liittyen kysymystä. Mutta joo, aloitellaan sillä, että mä kysäsen vähän ja yritän pysyä kärryllä niin, että tulee molemmilla kielellä. Ja ja kaikille myös hyvää OCD-tietoisuusviikkoa. Tässä on itse vähän...
Jonas, hello.
Hi. Hello.
How are you doing?
Looks like summer over there.
Yeah, it's weird actually. It hasn't really become autumn yet. So it's still green around here. Although there are some leaves on my table that have fallen.
Yes.
Yeah. Are all the leaves beautiful in Finland right now?
I don't know. It's so dark. I can't see it.
It's nighttime. It's true.
Yeah. But still,
welcome to
a bit
time
boring.
travel.
I just took the lamp away and cut my hair, so it's a bit. This is OCD, the naked version almost. Well, not naked.
Oh,
yeah.
You should really promote it like that. Yeah.
Yes. Uncensored.
Welcome to uncensored naked OCD.
Yes. It will sell well.
How have you been? We haven't talked probably all summer.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, how have you been?
Quite busy. A lot of getting back in. I don't know, not getting back in shape, but getting back after all the school things and so on. And then quite a lot of things concerning OCD, Suomi, and work related and so on.
Yeah. I always love seeing all of the posts and everything that you're doing. It looks like it's been really great to see OCD Suomi like grow over the years. It's been really amazing.
Yeah. First it was just me babbling about something on a YouTube video, and I was really unsure about how if that's a good idea or not. Yeah.
Most great things start with babbling on YouTube videos. So.
Then I just copied a lot from you, and then it got a bit better.
Oh no! Please do. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So I'm gonna quickly. I already explained for the viewers here. I think there's about 30 now, 29 right now. There was 15 before you joined, and I explained that we should start. I could start off by giving the questions in Finnish first. Okay. For the viewers, then in English for you.
Yep.
Because otherwise, it might be that I forget about it. It's better if I start off in that, then give it to you. Then I have my time listening to you, and then I try to summarize some of what you're saying into Finnish.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes. So normally we would start off with who you are and what are you doing, but I thought it's the OCD Awareness Week right now, so I would give you a question about how are you doing and how do you take care of your mental health right now? Or are you taking, or is it in a good shape or bad shape? Just how are you doing? Mun piti vielä sanoa tämä suomeksi kyllä, eli meni heti väärin, toi piti sanoa, eli eka suomeksi, Markin kasvot tekemään käännän sen englanniksi, mutta joo, eli siis mun kysyn, että tavallisesti aina sanon, että kuka sinä olet ja mitä sinä teet elämässäsi, mutta että kääntäisikin se nyt, kun on OCD-tietoisuusviikko, että kuka sinä olet ja miten sun mielenterveydellä menee ja miten sinä pidät siitä huolta. Yes, back to you.
Thank you. No, I'm glad you did the translation there.
Thank you.
I would not have done well.
Couple of years, you're going to be a pro.
Yeah. Give me time.
Yes.
In terms of things going well, yeah, things are going really well. Like this autumn is really like 10 or 11 years since I would really say I was done with OCD, and I always remember it. Walking, because it was really at this time of year in Toronto when the leaves were falling, and I really remember things being quite different than they had ever been in my life, because it was a point where I wasn't experiencing all the intrusive thoughts and I wasn't doing any compulsions, but also my brain was acting quite differently. And so, things go really well now. I find, and I think this is really natural, and maybe even you see it in your work. I think as we take care of our mental health, we very naturally move on from ourselves to building community. And I find that, we kind of go from, okay, things are working well here. Now let's look at how do we expand that. And I find, that's really where my focus is now. And things are mental health-wise going really great. Like we're doing a 45-minute meditation challenge on the Discord server this week, and that's something I could have never ever done in the past. So it's great. Yeah.
How do you see your own mental health if you put it together? Because that's I think I'm actually talking about myself more now. But connecting these things, doing things for other people, doing mental health workshops, so on. Do you see that it's something that always empowers you? Sounds like a Hollywood actor's question. Does it empower you? but is it something that empowers you, or do you kind of have to draw a line between? Obviously, everyone has to, protect their own time, their own mental health. But how do you see that? Because I see that as an issue every now and then, to give, but also to protect yourself.
Yeah, no, it's great you brought it up, because I find it's very similar to what we do with our own brains, in terms of learning to set boundaries, learning that we can't control a lot of things that we might see as wrong. So learning how to make it about giving in a way that's healthy and sustainable, but aligns with our values. It's about creating things we want to build while recognizing there's many uncertainties, many fears, many problems that we don't control.
Sure.
And so even in that respect, it's great you brought that up. I think, it's learning how to do what you've learned how to do personally, but now with other people, which is another level of challenge, because before you only had to work with one brain, and now there are so many uncertainties and you don't control any of them. So it's great work to learn how to embrace that uncertainty.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Now time for a quick translation.
Yes, go ahead.
It's interesting what I written down here. It's not, But elikäs mä kirjoitin tässä vähän ylös, mitä Mark tuossa sanoi, ja siis just kysyin sen, että miten hän voi tällä hetkellä, ja hän itse asiassa kokee sen, että nyt on, hän sanoi, noin 10-11 vuotta sitten, kun hän pääsi omasta OCD:sta niin, että koki olevansa ja kokee olevansa toipunut. Ja itse asiassa se oli just silloin myös syysaikaa, eli tuolla lehdet ja vihreätä Markin takana, niin hän sanoi, että se oli voimakas tunne se syksy, kun OCD ei ollut enää vääntämässä aivoja ihan nurin. Että se oli tosi hieno tunne, ja että hän tuntee, että hän voi tosi hyvin tällä hetkellä, ja varsinkin sen suhteen, että hän on luomassa niin kuin mielenterveysyhteisöä, niin kuin hän on nyt tässä meidän kanssa, tai luennoimassa, vetämässä workshoppeja muualla. Kun hän siitä mainitsi, niin mä ajattelin, että mä vähän avaan sitä, koska mä tiedän itse tässä meidän OCD Suomi-jutussa, niin tulee aika paljon sitä, että joutuu tasapainottelemaan omien voimavarojen kanssa siitä, että mitä haluaa antaa, ja toki haluaa antaa muille, mutta myös suojella omaa vointia. niin kysyn siitä Markilta ja hän sanoi, että hän on huomannut myös, että rajojen asettaminen on tosi tärkeää, että se olisi niin kuin hyödyllistä sekä hänelle, että hän voi olla muille avuksi. Mutta että tosiaan haastavaa, kun on omat aivot ja sitten onkin muiden aivot, mistä pitää huolta, ja että hän ei pysty niitä kontrolloimaan, että se on ollut oma harjoittajansa ja haasteensa. That went pretty well, actually, I think. Yeah.
You know this stuff because I find too like how do you find it? How have you found like setting boundaries and things like that as you build community around recovery skills?
Yes. Eli Mark kysyy tuolta, että miten mä pystyn asettamaan rajoja ja omaa, niin kuin miten mä työstän sen kanssa. There's still a bit to go, I would say. Normally I'm doing quite well on it, but I think the hardest part is to me to notice what's the writer who wrote Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Is that Mary Shelley? Oh no,
is it Shelley?
Maybe. I don't
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a literature Insta life,
no.
But still, yeah, but still, the writer of that novel, is it a novel? Well, anyway, told that I think it's a he, when he wrote it, that every single time when he got the feeling, okay, now I'm moving along really well, things are going great. Now I have all of these ideas. Usually, that's the time to write them down and stop. Not pushing on too much, because that's where frustration and exhaustion and anxiety comes in, where he's not able to work on it. So I think that's where I'm still struggling big, because I have this, yes, I want to do this, yes, I want to do that, but then I look at my resources and my energy, and they're way. So setting boundaries is I think it's going to be a long rest of my life, but still it's something I have to work on.
It is a good thing to practice for the rest of our lives. Yeah.
Yes. And I think also it's something that I would like to bring more into this also, this one thing as well. Because it's an important part for me. So it's also, that's what I started with, telling about my own mental health. So it's been a tricky part of admitting that I'm not able to do all these things that I would like to do, and I don't have the time to do all the things I like to do. But still, to also be open about that.
Yes, because I think something that's really interesting that I always like to talk about with OCD is that OCD likes to make us work hard. And I think it's even something we see, like this is one of the ways I found I had to look at OCD as a pattern in my life, and many things that I didn't see as OCD was that I kept, if I was doing a work project, I would put myself in a position where I had to do a lot of extra work, or I would always choose a difficult path rather than an easy one. And part of it was just starting to see, even when it's not an obsession, I do all of this extra work. And so even now, it's something I still always look at in anything, is just answering the question, how do I make it easy? Because I know my brain's tendency is like, no, let's do so much work. Even when it's not something we'd see as a compulsion, I know that's its automatic. It's going to put me in a position where I have to do more work than I have resources for. And so, I find it's like it gets at one of those really fundamental patterns with this. It's just learning how to do enough.
Yes.
And do sustainably. And maybe this is something important for the whole world, is learning how to just use the resources we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Eli Mark kysyi multa, että miten mun voimavarat, miten mä oon niin kuin työstänyt sitä, ja mä sanoinkin, että se on ehkä voimavarat ja omien rajojen asettaminen on semmoinen, minkä kanssa mulla on haasteellista, ei vaan tässä niin kuin yhdistystyössä, vaan ihan mielenterveyden ja OCD:n kanssa se, että mä niin kuin haluaisin tehdä, on innostusta välillä tehdä tosi paljon, ja sitten huomaa, että voimavarat ja aika ei riitä siihen, ja sitten niin kuin ajaa itseänsä vähän päin seinää, ja se on haastavaa. Ja sitten Mark puhui siinä, että hän otti itse sen puheeksi kanssa just niin kuin rajojen asettaminen, ja hän on esimerkiksi ottanut sen tosi tärkeäksi teemaksi tai asiaksi itselleen sen, että tekee asiat tarpeeksi, että ne tekee niitä, you are doing them, yeah, now again doing it. I'm asking you for the translation, but you said that making things easy, right?
Yes. How do I make things easy? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Eli miten ne kaikki asiat, mitä hän tarvii tehdä, niin miten hän pystyy rajaamaan, mutta myös tekemään ne itselleen tarpeeksi helpoksi niin, että niitä pystyy pitämään yllä. Ja hän sanoi, että se olisi muutenkin hyvä kaikkien ihmisten tämä sustainability, eli pystyy niin kuin pitämään asioita niin, että ne oikeasti niin kuin pysyy kasassa eikä vaan romahda alas. Ja olen tästä hänen kanssa samaa mieltä. I'm gonna do quite a giant leap here from this subject to another now, but
I like it.
But well, I could do it in this way. Well, I'm gonna do it first in Finnish now. So, eli mä tuun kysymään siitä, kun Mark mainitsi 10-11 vuotta sitten, että hän syksyllä oli päässyt irti OCD:stä, niin mä kysyisinkin sen nyt, että miten hän silloin, kun oli ihan se niin kuin eniten kuopassa OCD:n kanssa, niin mitä hän näki, että oli hänen ekat askeleet, koska tätä moni miettii, että mulla ei ole terapeuttia, mä en ole mitään, mä en osaa mitään, mä en tiedä mitään, niin mikä olisi niin kuin hyvä vinkki siihen, kun ihan ne ekat vauva-askeleet, mitä voi tehdä oman mielenterveyden hyväksi, niin mä tuun sen kysymään häneltä. So the question was that because you're sitting there, green leaves behind you, as it was 10-11 years ago, but if you take a couple of years back when you were in the middle, in the pile of a big pile of not so nice things, so because a lot of people, that's maybe one of the most common questions is, I'm in the middle of this big pile of not so many great things. Can you remember what was it might be from therapy, it might be another person, it might be a situation. Can you remember this specific pinpoint thing that you can recall? I'm babbling on, but that got you this sensation of I'm actually improving, or something really small. Like when you were stuck, what was the first thing of getting unstuck?
Yeah, so this I always find is a complicated area to navigate because it is what we want in that moment is like, I want to feel like I'm getting better. But I find that just gets us wrapped up in compulsions. Like that would be like asking like, what was the moment where you started to feel your hands were clean? What was the moment you started to feel the door was locked? And so I think that's part of it. I know that's so tough. When we're in the pile of bad things, all we want to do is get out of it. But actually the more useful thing is to want to be in it. And so in some ways I was kind of lucky that actually the first thing that really helped me was a friend who was struggling with addiction. So when I explained about the compulsions I did, so them struggling with addiction, their immediate reaction was like, well, you have to just stop the compulsions.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of the times when we approach OCD or even a lot of therapy, it's like, oh, like, how do we reduce them? And like, what's this kind of like journey gonna be? But it was so lucky that he was just like, oh, like, you have to stop them. Like I didn't get to like move from, oh, now I don't drink vodka, now I just drink beer. Like there's nothing like that in addiction communities, but so often in OCD we're like, how are we gonna like kind of make it more manageable and stuff like that? And so I was really lucky because I remember him telling me that, and then I finally found a therapist and started ERP. So when they were like, well, you've got to cut out the compulsion, like I kind of had my friend's voice in my head being like, I knew I was going to see him next week. And if I, like, in the same way I knew he wasn't going to, show up and be like, oh, I was drinking again this week. I knew I couldn't show up and be like, oh, I did the compulsions again. And so that really helped actually shifting the focus away from a feeling to an action. And that was progress. Like, did I cut out the compulsion?
Yes. So it was really like kind of I have this thing that I do. Let's
not do it.
No. Yeah.
No more doing it.
For some reason, a mission statement came into my mind that it's something that this is my goal now to practice on.
Yeah, and I think it was really that, like, that the progress needs to shift to the did you complete mission?
Yeah.
And it's not whether you feel you're getting. Yeah, like, it's not about how you felt about the mission. Because at first you're always going to feel like it sucks.
Yeah, it was a shitty mission.
Yeah, it's always going to be a shitty mission.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Quick translation. I'll try to. This is this. I should share this when I'm translating while you're talking, while I'm writing. It's fascinating stuff to read. Yes. Mutta Mark puhui tuosta just, kun otettiin se, että mikä oli se eka askel kohti toipumista, se pieni askel, mitä pystyy tehdä, niin Mark mainitsi, ja on tosi samaa mieltä hänen kanssaan siinä, että helposti haluaisi olla siinä, että pääsisipä eteenpäin, pääsisipä vähän paremmaksi, oispa tunne vähän parempi, ja hyvin useasti se on suoraan kompulsio, eli osa ongelmaa, eli yritetään tehdä jotain ja vähentää ahdistusta, ja sitten ollaan itse asiassa niin kuin siinä samassa myllyssä taas. Ja hän ymmärtää sen, että on, niin kuin puhuttiin tuossa, että keskellä in a big pile of kakkaa, niin kakka is poo-poo, kun on keskellä isoa kasaa kakkaa, niin hänelle itse asiassa oli iso apu ystävä, joka taisteli addiktion kanssa, ja itse asiassa siitä hän sai jo ennen kuin meni terapiaan, niin saa sen, niin kun terapeutti sanoi, että sä joudut sitten tekemään altistuksia, sä joudut siis niin kuin lopettaa tiettyjen asioiden tai niin kuin muuttamaan niitä, niin se ei ollutkaan hänelle niin kuin millään tavalla yllätys, koska tämä jolla oli addiktio, niin pystyy hyvin selvästi selittämään, mutta noihan on kompulsioita, mitä sä teet, niin kuin juoda, vaikka on tunne, sit juot, koska on joku tunne, jotta saa sen pois, niin samalla tavalla Markilla on tämä kompulsio sitten OCD-muodossa eri jutuissa, niin hänellä on onnea siinä, että hän pääsi niin kuin, hän tiesi jo sen ennen kuin meni terapiaan, että okei, tämä on se, mitä hänen tarvii tehdä. Ja just se asenne, että se ei voi olla niin kuin sitten niin, että mulla on vähän OCD:tä ja sitten mä voin välillä juoda vähän viskiä tai välillä voi juoda vähän olutta, vaan hänen pitää niin kuin saada se pois, niin kuin addiktikin. Ja siinä hän niin kuin huomaa sen, niin tuohon alkuun, että se on helposti kompulsiota, niin puhuttiin tuosta, että se on niin kuin tehtävä, että se on teko, kun jätetään kompulsiot pois. Se ei ole niin kuin tunteen vähättely, että se tulee aina olemaan se kakka mission, shitty mission. Ja niin kuin se ei tule alussa tuntumaan hyvältä, kun tehdään altistuksia. Se ei ole niin kuin altistuksen päämäärä ja löytää oikea tai väärä tunne, vaan onnistua tehdä joku asia ja mennä sillä eteenpäin. Yes. So the next question is quite connected actually to the earlier one, eli mä kysyn Markilta seuraavan kysykö vähän liittyy tuohon edelliseen, mutta se on se, että ennen kuin löydät terapeutin, jos ei ole niin kuin terapiasta tietoa tai ei ole niin kuin taloudellisia mahdollisuuksia tai ei vaan löydy, varsinkin nyt korona-aikana Suomessa hankala löytää, niin onko jotain, mitä hän voisi antaa vinkkejä, mitä voi tehdä mielenterveyden ja OCDn eteen? So the question was regarding not finding a therapist and having a hard time finding a therapist and having, economical things might be a huge part of it, or not finding the proper support system and so on. So if you can't find a therapist, do you have any hints or good ideas about how you could support yourself with your OCD, with your mental health, and going on with that?
Yes, I think one of the key things to know, so in research, there's been multiple studies comparing a therapist to self-help books or online courses. And so the research is inconclusive. Sometimes the self-help books and the online courses do better than the therapists. Sometimes the therapists do better. But I think the key to take away from that is that you can do either. So if you can access a therapist, because even if you could access a therapist, you don't actually, you may know, but you don't necessarily know if they're really skilled at what they do.
Sure.
They might have space in their program right now because nobody wants to work with them.
Yeah.
So, there's always these other options because At the end of the day, it's about us making the changes. And so whatever, and some people may even learn better working on their own. And so it's really understanding, though, because I think we can get hooked on the idea that, oh, because I can't find anybody, I can't start cutting out compulsions, or I can't start learning how to interact differently with stuff in my head. And that's not true. It's very much like physical fitness. Like, yeah, you may benefit from working with a personal trainer, but even if you work with a personal trainer, you're still going to be doing all of the sweaty exercises. And after you're done with the personal trainer, you have to keep exercising on your own. Because if you only exercise with the personal trainer, yeah, it's going to, at some point they're going to be gone. And then you don't want to go back to the way things were. So yeah, it is and it can be difficult to find good help, but if you can't, that doesn't have to be a barrier.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not a great person I like to compare physical health and physical and psychological health. But some people always compare OCD with a hockey player or a football player and so on. But in this sense, I find it that you could compare this as well, because you were talking about a physiotherapist or so on. For example, you could learn good healthy skills by playing hockey or a marathon or running shorter distances, and the same is with mental health. That it's just not this therapist and nothing else. So that's something I find important.
Exactly. Like a marathon runner is a great example. Like they are going to join a running group. They're going to share about what's happening with other runners, but they'll probably also talk to a physiotherapist. They'll get a trainer. Yeah, it's seeing you kind of put together all of the different tools.
Sure.
And yeah, they'll all fit together in different ways for each person differently.
Yeah. Yes. Eli mä kysyin just sitä, että miten jos ei ole mahdollisuutta terapiaan ja ei ole vaikka taloudellisesti mahdollista, no mä sanoinkin tuohon alkuun sen, mutta Mark itse asiassa toi sinne, että monessa tutkimuksessa on nähty sitä, että ei ole tultu edes niin selville siitä, että onko terapia vai vaikka esimerkiksi itseapukirja tai itseapumateriaali ylipäätänsä, että kumpi on tehokkaampaa. Että se, että ei pääse terapiaan, niin ei tarkoita sitä, ettei olisi mahdollisuuksia löytää apua ja vinkkejä. Ja sitten on myös se, että niin kuin hän sanoi, se, että löydät terapeutin, niin sehän ei tarkoita sitä, että se on automaattisesti sopiva tai pätevä suhteessa sitten, vaikka että löytää niin kuin itse niin kuin kanavia, jotka kertoo OCD:stä, mitä mielenterveydestä ylipäätänsä. Ja muutenkin hän sanoi sen, että niin kun, vertaili sitä fyysiseen terveyteen, että sitähän ei niin kun, se on jotain, mitä sinä harjoittelet. Se ei ole vaan, että se on se terapeutti tai se on toi tahdo, vaan se on joku jossain, missä sä viet itsesi siihen mukaan. Ja näin ollen se voi olla, sen avun voi löytää monestakin asiasta. Ja otettiin tuossa esimerkkinä vaikka urheilu, että jos pidät vaikka fyysisestä kunnostasi huolta, niin sen voi tehdä monella eri tavalla. Se ei tarkoita, että aina pitää juosta maratonia tai pelata jääkiekkoa, vaan voi olla myös juoksemassa tai tehdä muita asioita. Yes, I'm actually noticing there's quite at least some questions as well in English. Oh. I'm gonna when I've done all the questions I have, we could go those through in Finnish and English as well.
Okay.
And there was a hello from Arizona for you as well. I noticed.
Oh. Hello to Arizona.
That's an important. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. So, actually, if I don't know how to round this question, but this is regarding contamination and things like that. And I think you've got this question a million of times, but I think that's why it's an important one to give. Is due to COVID, due to things being more strict, being maybe difficult to meet people and so on. A lot of people say that, how do I do how do I do it? I once saw a person, it was a GIF where a person was eating a hamburger with two masks on, so she could eat at the same time.
Yeah.
So doing, for example, can't remember if you had like contamination fears and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, but for example, if you, Mark Freeman, from 2007, would be in this COVID era of time, and he would say to you, no, Mark, 2021. Not possible because this COVID we can't. I'm not able to do any exposures for contamination. What would you say to him? I will translate it quickly as well. Eli mä kysyin Markilta, että jos hänen vuonna 2007 ihminen, joka pelkäsi kontaminaatiota ja tartuttamista ja näin poispäin, niin mitä 2021 Mark sanoisi sille, joka vuonna 2007 nyt miettii, että kun on korona ja on nämä lockdownit ja kaikki, ne ei pysty tekemään altistuksia suhteessa kontaminaatioon. Yes.
I think, yes, and he would. It would have been a huge struggle, but it's so interesting because with my contamination compulsions too, I would have, like I was at the point where my hands were in really bad shape, and I would have just taken on more work. Again, this goes back to the working hard thing, that very much I would just do more and more damaging compulsions to myself. And so it was a really bad situation to be in. And I think when people hear about, cutting out compulsions and they say, oh, I can't do it. And even in the OCD community in general too, I think we can get really attached to the idea of the hierarchy. And say like, oh, I can't cut out that compulsion yet because it's further along on my hierarchy. It's a big one. But what I would emphasize there again is the experience that people have with cutting out addictions. And again, that was really helpful for me because if you're cutting out an addiction, what's the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to start with the toughest compulsion. And then you basically work backwards from there. So just emphasize, it is really useful when we can start small and build bigger. At the same time, if you cut out one of those bigger compulsions that really may terrify you, you can do it. And so, at the same time, right now is a difficult time. On the other hand, it can be a great opportunity to cut out some compulsions because, the brain's going to go, but this is real. And you get to say, yes, and I'm still not going to do the compulsion. And it's, it can be a really useful time.
What would be a shitty mission you would give yourself then?
I think
sorry that
I'm
pressuring you on this. Sorry.
No, this is great. Because thinking back, the big ones that I even thinking, a leaf just landed on my phone. Nice. That I had to do at the time would have simply been not rewashing, and not that would have been the big one. That would have come up for me if now it happened back then. I would have just had to keep going back because I was always checking, did I feel clean, and then thinking through in my head, did anything touch anything? Even actually thinking, I just pulled out my mask. Because I just got coffee on my way to the park, so we have to wear masks everywhere right now in a store. I would not have touched this, and without being able, and then especially, I wouldn't have been able to touch my phone after touching the mask, and so things like that, I would have had to clean everything and clean it again, and so not the mission at the time would have been you get to wash for 5 seconds. When you get home, and never again.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one because you explained about the mask. I remember when I had this, wasn't kind of this contamination in germs or anything, but I had this that, for example, something bad would happen. So, for example, if I'm a bad person and I touch my nose 7 a.m. in the morning, me touching that nose will end up on the bus driver 5 kilometers over there. He will go home to his daughter and wife and do something, this kind of imaginary line of things happening. So so for example, you touching your mask would be a same kind of exposure for me, that you are actually interfering with that magical line of doing things the right way.
Oh, it's great you brought that up even. I find like that anything you can do to interfere with that pattern. Like I find, and that's kind of the thing, how it varies for each person, but it's also the same. It's just seeing what is the magical pattern, and then how do we just start to break it? And like that's always the fun exercise. But yeah, it's really understanding what is your pattern, and then just break it everywhere it comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. That could even be a fun way of breaking those patterns.
Yes.
A lot of things.
Exactly. It really can be fun and it's intense, but it's just like wanting to break them. And then noticing when they pop up, because often they come up in like random situations. And you just notice, oh, I'm thinking this thing is connected to that thing is connected to that thing. And then you just start touching it, rub it, just make your brain squirm, and then you walk away. Yeah.
Yeah. Käännän siis, eli puhuttiin just siitä kontaminaatiota ja koronan aikaisesta, miten Mark näki sitten, että vuonna 2007 Mark, mistä hän hyötyisi ja minkä tehtävän Mark antaisi hänelle tänä vuonna, niin hän sanoi, että esimerkiksi hänellä oli se aina piti pestä asioita, jotta niihin kertyneet asiat, se oli joku tapahtuma tai joku pöpö tai ihan mikä tahansa, hän oli pakko pestä se, niin hän lopettaisi sen pesemisen, että saisi pestä kerran ja katkaisi sen siihen. Ja puhuttiin myös samalla siinä, että olipa se sitten kontaminaatio, mulla siis itsellä ollut se, että mä kosketan nenääni aamulla ja sitten se vie asioihin, että sitten se koskee bussikuljettaja menee kotiin vaimonsa ja tyttärensä luokse ja siellä hän vaikka lyö mennä sanoa vasaralla, mutta ei kummiskaan, veitsellä perhettä. Mä oon jotenkin vaikuttanut. Ja puhuttiin just tästä maagisesta linjasta, mikä usein niin kuin on siinä OCD-ajattelussa, että pitää asiat tehdä tietyllä tavalla, ja jos siihen tulee jotain, niin sitten tapahtuu jotain pahaa, niin altistukset on itse asiassa, että katkaistaan se. Esimerkiksi Mark koski tuohon maskiinsa, mitä hän ei olisi ikinä tehnyt aikaisemmin, vaikka muuten on huolellinen. Niin tuommoiset voidaan katkaista se linja, mitä OCD sanoo, että pitäisi tehdä, niin semmoisen tehtävän hän antoisi ja puhutte, että se voi olla ihan missä tahansa OCD-asiassa. Yes. Back to you.
The brains, I wonder, it is I think a very difficult time for people during the pandemic, but it doesn't have to be a time where the pandemic pushes us back with our mental health. Because I think I'm worried about that as we're coming out of that. I'm seeing a lot of like, oh, well, this year or these 2 years, like they interfered with my mental health. And then it just creates this extra work. And so, not letting ourselves get pushed back.
And that's the same if, for example, with the whole OCD Suomi as well, and a lot of other things as well. For example, what would be a good example? There's a lot of people that I never actually, physically met or been in the same space, but I don't even think about it. Like there's people in our team that I talk to them almost daily, but I never been in the same space. Same as with you, I never been in Toronto or
that's true.
Never touched that tree behind you and so on. But it doesn't mean that I'm not connected with people.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
That becomes so important. Understanding how we make connection. And it doesn't have to be. Like we can make connection in different ways, and I think sometimes it's easy for the brain to get stuck on, right? Again, like some kind of pattern. The connection has to happen in a particular way, but then those beliefs are not so useful to us when we run into the apocalypse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Puhuttiin Markin kanssa tuossa vaan se, että esimerkiksi on ihmisiä, mitä ei ole koskaan nähnyt, ja koronan takia miettii, että ei pysty näkemään ihmisiä, mutta taas on myös oppinut uusia tapoja. Esimerkiksi mä en ole koskaan häntä nähnyt tai koskenut tuohon puuhun hänen takana. Ja meidän tiimissäkin on tyyppejä, mitä mä en ole. Puhun päivittäin, mutta me päivittäin niiden kanssa, mutta ei olla fyysisesti koskaan oltu samassa paikassa, mutta silti tunnen, että ne on niin kuin ihmisiä, ketä mä tunnen ja kenen kanssa mä oon lähellä. Että läheisyys on vähän sellainen, sen voi nähdä monella eri tavalla. Yes. I'm watching the time now. We could actually go through a couple of those questions. Let's see if I can get them open.
Okay. I know Instagram makes them like I see like little
like,
tiny words.
Like a small line.
Yeah. You can see one sentence at a time.
Yeah, it's almost like made for those old Nokia phones where you could just see 5 lines or so.
I'm glad we got some Nokia product placement here.
Yes.
It's important.
Yeah. Let's see. There's one question. It's in English, so I'm going to say it in English.
Okay.
Moi Mark, that's Mois. Hello. Moi Mark, love your work. How would I use the methods that I've learned in ERP to battle depression? Eli tässä on yksi kysymys, että miten niin kuin masentuneisuutta voi käyttää, tai ERPtä eli altistusterapiaa voi käyttää masentuneisuuden hoitoon.
So I was diagnosed with depression first, and it was useful to approach depression as another set of compulsions I was doing around unwanted thoughts and unwanted feelings. So in the same way that I may have, a terrifying intrusive thought or a feeling of anxiety and panic, and then I would avoid it, or I would try to control it. It helped me to see I did the same with depression. So the same things around those unwanted feelings or those kinds of thoughts of, like, for me, I always describe it as my brain would go from A to Z to the end of the world. It would just, like, when it just everything was bad. And so starting to see that those were intrusive thoughts too. And that when I would avoid something because I'm like, oh, I don't feel like that, I don't want to have that feeling, that was the compulsive cycle that would fuel depression. So I call it the depression doom spiral, because we start to avoid being ourselves because of a feeling, which then creates more feelings we don't like of not being ourselves, not doing the things we want to do. So then we avoid more things, which makes us feel even worse. And then we avoid more and we avoid and avoid, and until we're just kind of stuck because we're like, oh, I don't want to do anything. And I can't do anything. And so, I find starting to approach depression in the same way we would approach anxiety, that I am going to do a thing. So this is where it becomes like ERP. I am going to do a thing. There is probably going to be a really uncomfortable feeling or a lot of thoughts about, oh, this is terrible. This is the end of the world. This is going to suck. And I'm going to do the action I value doing anyway. And I'm going to bring my brain along with me. And at the same time, I'm going to start to change how I interact with that stuff. Because say in the past, right, if I had a thought, like we were talking about contamination and those like magical patterns. So in the past, if my brain was like, ooh, if you touch this, that person's going to die, I would engage with it. I'd be like, yeah, that person's going to die. I don't want to do that. I would be a horrible person, right? I would believe it. The same thing happens with depression. Where we're like, oh yeah, I am a terrible person, this does suck, this is terrible, nobody likes me, etc. And I engage with it. And so we've also got to change that stuff we're doing in our heads around it, and start to recognize, that stuff is that's just brain junk. And it's no longer in charge of my actions. So that's how I would approach it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed the exact same thing with my depression, that there was a lot of avoidance. Both OCD and depression went together and made a lot of problems to me, that you have this feeling, so you cannot, and that could be just, let's just skip that, or let's not enjoy that, or let's not, so like this canceling things from things because I had feelings that I didn't like.
Yeah, it's the same. Actually, I love what you brought up there, because it's so useful to see that in the same way the brain is going to judge something as contaminated. It's going to go, oh, this is contaminated because of this and this, and this bad thing is going to happen. And we would recognize that as OCD. The exact same thing happens with depression. The brain starts going, oh, this sucks because of this. This is bad because of this. It's not going to work out because of this, etc. and then we react to it. And so, yeah, it is very much the brain's judgment machinery, whether it's labeling something as contaminated, labeling something as unsafe, labeling something as just, it sucks, etc. Like it is that pattern. And again, we get to like break it.
Yeah. Eli puhuttiin masennuksesta tuossa ja miten niin kuin altistusta voi käyttää siinäkin, ja Mark otti esille paljon samaa, mitä mäkin mietin liittyen masentuneisuuteen, että se on tosi paljon, että se vaikuttaa se miten puhumme itsellemme ja ymmärtää, että sekin on vaan niin kuin brain poo, aivokakkaa. Eli siinä käydään samanlaisia tarinoita läpi, mihin ei pysty ja mitä ei halua ja ei kykene. Että sitäkin voi lähestyä niitä ajatuksia ja tuntemuksia samalla tavalla, että aletaankin tehdä asioita. Ja what was the last thing you said there? I tried to summarize it, but can you remember?
Like the last part is just breaking the pattern everywhere, yes. Right? That it is the same pattern of the judgment machinery. Yeah.
If you want a nice and gooey feeling in your brain, try to translate things. It's a fascinating feeling.
It is. It's an amazing skill. You're doing an incredible job.
Yeah, and there's a lot of exposure in that as well, because I'm sure that I'm gonna miss things, and there's some things that I say a bit different. You mentioned something, and I said hammer instead of. I just imagine, adding stuff without actually meaning to do it.
Oh, please do. Yeah, I think it is a fascinating thing, like exploring languages, because again, so much of our mental health is about like what we give and how we express ourselves. But then, that is filtered through different languages. Like how we express ourselves in different languages, and just learning that, because we get so caught up in language. I know, you're talking to Stephen Hayes soon. I don't know if but this one of the things I love in his work is that a lot of acceptance and commitment therapy in the kind of like very pure research in the past was looking at language. And right, like we use language to construct like these fears, but at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of words in our heads. And like, exploring language is such a fascinating part of this, and exploring how there's a self separate from language.
Yes.
That's just how we express ourselves in different, and I think a lot of people in North America, because they only speak one language, it's actually really challenging a lot of the time because they believe the words of themselves. But I find if people have had the experience of speaking multiple languages, they start to see that, like the language is just a tool, and I'm actually separate from all of this word stuff.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
So everybody, as part of your mental fitness work, please go and learn extra languages. There we go.
Mark sanoi tuossa, että moni pohjois-amerikkalainen, koska osaa vain yhden kielen, itse asiassa se on hyvä, kun osaa monta kieltä, koska sitten alkaa huomaamaan, huomenna on Stephen C. Hayesin haastattelu tulee meidän YouTubeen, niin siinä on just se, että miten hänkin puhuu siitä, miten kielessä on tosi paljon voimaa siinä, että jos on se yksi kieli, niin annetaan hirveästi painoarvoa tietyille sanoille. Ja sitten kun onkin monta kieltä, niin huomaa, että hei, toi on vain yksi sana, toi sana on vähän erilainen ja näin. Niin Mark sanoi jo, että yksi mielenterveysvinkki on, että oppikaa enempi kieliä tai oppikaa kieliä. Learn languages. And Stephen actually mentions as well about this, that you have a picture of something. For example, you have a family portrait and there's a lot of people, and that is Henry, that is Mark, that's his step cousin from Israel, and so on. So you make up this picture about things you think you know, and then you have this picture, but actually you don't. You just see these. You see certain things, and then you make up a thing. And he said that if these things are a lot about that's a scary thing, that's a scary thing, that's a scary thing, that's a scary thing, then you're gonna automatically start to expand into more scary things, or maybe that's a threatening thing, and so on. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like that's such a great metaphor and example, because that's, I would say, what we were talking about there with depression too. It's like because it's whether we've labeled it as scary or just like wrong or whatever, it's we're constantly making these pictures. Just starting to understand, like the labels we stuck on the picture, they're probably just wrong.
Yeah.
They're like, and we can change them.
Yeah. Otin tuossa Markille puheeksi ton Steven C. Hayesin huomisen jutun, missä hän ottaa puheeksi esimerkiksi perhekuvan, missä voi nähdä paljon ihmisiä ja tietää, että ton nimi on Henry ja ton nimi on Mark ja Markin pikkuserkku on I think I said Israel, it doesn't really matter, että hän on Israelista ja että luulee niin kuin sen perheportretin mukaan, että se mitä tietää nimet ja muuta, niin luo kuvan siitä, että ketkä nämä ihmiset on, mutta loppupeleissä me tiedetään tosi vähän ja jos vaihdetaan tämä portretti siihen, että se onkin OCD ja uhkavia asioita, niin jos meillä on 4-5 uhkaavaa asiaa, niin sitten mieli alkaa luomaan, että niin, mutta sitten se on toinen lisää uhkaava ja toinen lisää uhkaava, niin että saisi sitä haastettua sitä perheportrettikuvaa siinäkin. Yes, I think there was someone who said thank you that your book is now available in Arabic, and that's good. Arabic, yes,
yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Oh, thank you for reading in Arabic. Yeah, it is available. It's available in Arabic now. It's been great to have it translated into so many more languages. I always feel unfortunate that I can't answer all the questions in all of the different languages, but I hope people are finding it useful. Yeah.
Yes. Do you know how many languages it's translated into right now?
10.
Around-ish.
I think it's 10. It's around 10. It might be 11 or 12. I'd have to get but it's around 10 or 11. For sure. Especially if you count English, British English and American English as two.
Of course, there's this. Yes,
that's two.
I always find that a bit fascinating and funny that there's actually two. But
there are two English versions. I apologize to everybody for who it causes confusion for.
I think I have the British version.
Oh, okay.
I will have to check out the American one.
The British version, you get extra vowels, right? Like I assume the British version is a bit longer because it has extra U's and stuff.
Mä kysyin tuossa Markilta siitä hänen kirjastaan, minkä voi tässä suositellakin. What's the name of it? It's in England. It's no, it's the same. No, it's
it's different. In England, it's the mind workout, and in North America, it's you are not a rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eli se löytyy myös Suomeen, vaikka Adilibrista tai Booki tai näin, niin löytyy You Are Not a Rock tai sitten The Mind Workout Markkikirja. Toinen on brittiversio ja toinen englantilainen. Ja se löytyy itse asiassa, Mark sanoi, että 10 tai 11 kielen riippuen, että laskeeko Britannian ja USAn 2 eri kieleksi. Let's hope we get it in Finnish or Swedish or some Nordicish language.
Exactly, it would be great, yeah.
Yeah. I was actually at one point, I remember trying to, how do you say, a publicist in Finland.
Yeah.
But they about it. I can't remember if we even talked about it. I can't remember. Might be. I
remember we emailed.
Maybe 2017, 18 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope. Book publishing is such a weird industry. I hope, and that it's very complicated to get things. Yeah. Translated and so on.
You should have added some true crime components, then it would have been, because that's basically what I got, that there was a message about that they're focusing on this dekkari, which is kind of a much more true crime-ish thing. So
I'll make the next book on that. Yeah, like if we make it about a criminal. I think that would be interesting. A criminal that has OCD and a detective that has OCD, and then the detective has to use but they have to make sure their compulsions don't get in their way. But then also the criminal, maybe it's their compulsions that are going to get them caught. That would be fascinating. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. And we said it in like northern. We said it in Lapland. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. Yes. That's kind of this thriller-ish thing going on, that it has to be somewhere cold. Yes.
Yes.
Mä sanon Markille vaan, että olisi kiva saada se joskus suomeksi tai ruotsiksi tai jollakin pohjoismaalaisella kielellä. Ja oli itse asiassa muutama vuosi sitten puhetta yhden julkaisijan kanssa, otin puheeksi, että jos Markin kirjaa saisi suomeksi, mutta ne oli enemmän silloin true crime ja tämmöiseen dekkarisettiin kiinnostunut. Mä sanoin, että pitää lisätä sitten seuraavaan tai kirjaan jotain true crime-juttuja, ja Mark sanoi, että laitetaan vielä, että se on Lapissa, missä on tyyppi, jolla on OCD ja näin. Or then you could do to wrap things up, because I started off with the uncensored thing, so it could be the mind workout uncensored.
Oh, absolutely.
That could be one.
You always do, yeah. Yeah, for like the 10th anniversary version, you just sell it with like all of the stick characters are naked now, just to like make it more exciting. Yeah.
Joo. Eli sensuroimaton The Mind Workout on sitten, se voisi ehkä myydä sitten paremmin ja tulla ehkä suomeksikin. Yes. So we have been here for almost an hour, so I think that's kind of a good setup. So I want to thank you for being here and always taking your time. It's been a huge. I know how much people respect that and then in our peer support groups, I can't remember a single time when a person haven't mentioned your name. So that's you're doing something good.
Oh no, it's an honor. I appreciate so much the support and the connection that we've built over the years. Even though we haven't had a chance to meet in person.
No.
It's I really appreciate the work you're doing there and connecting so many people with skills that are just so useful. So thank you always for having me on to chat about this stuff. I'm always happy to. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm sure we meet at some point. So
we will. Yes.
In a physical space.
It will happen again at some time in the future. Yeah. People will be moving again. And I think too, over the years, I think we really see the benefit too of building community over time, and that we do have communities that we can bring together and do a workshop sometime or something like that, and that would be awesome. So let's do that sometime in the future.
Yes. Thank you, Mark. Kiitos, Mark, että olit mukana. Thank you for being here.
Jonas, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye-bye.